What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for PlayPicks.com. Going to talk to you about the very last wild card game of the weekend here. Eagles traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears. But first and foremost, want to thank you guys. You got us to over 1,000 subscribers. Now we want to hit 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, whatever it might be. Really appreciate you guys supporting the channel. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up on this video and let us know in the comments how you're going to be playing this game here to close out wild card weekend here. Of course, as always, head to dkpicks.com. You're going to get the very best sign-up bonus there is possible at DraftKings Sportsbook over there in New Jersey. $35 free. $35 now, not $25. $35 absolutely free over there. And of course, you can go to playpicks.com/bonus for all of our offers here. Of course, at PlayPicks, Nate does the write-up. So if you want to head over there and just read this thing, by all means, be sure and go ahead and do that. All right, let's take a look here. Upper 30s in Chicago for this game. Winds right around 15 miles an hour. So they're getting on that cusp of something where we might be a little bit worried as far as how that might affect the play. But 15 is okay. It's kind of when you get into those 20, 25 mile an hour gusts and things like that is where things really kind of start to get a little wonky, especially in the pass game and definitely in the kicking game. But we're on the cusp right there. Let's continue to monitor this up until kickoff, but it doesn't look like anything's going to be worrisome there. No chance of precipitation either. Eagles 9-7 on the season, 5-3 at home, 4-4 on the road, 7-9 on the season against the spread. Actually won their last 3 games of the season, got a little bit of help and got into the playoffs here. The Bears, on the other hand, 12-4 on the season for this team, 7-1 at home. Very, very good home team, 5-3 on the road. And if you weren't betting the Bears this year, why not? They were 12-4 against the spread this year. They won their final 4 games, including that last game, which kept the Vikings out of the playoffs. They could have chose to roll over, play backups and things like that, but they chose not to, went ahead and beat them and got them out of the playoffs. We'll scroll down a little bit here, take a look at the odds. Of course, you can take a look in the article here. This is when this thing was published, where the odds are now. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of the books over here at DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll roll down here. We are still at 6.5 here in this one, 41.5. If you want to take the Eagles on the money line, you're getting plus 220 over there. At BetStars, we still have 6.5 as well in this one. Still looking at 41.5 as well, and you can get the Eagles at plus 220 over there on the money line. And finally, looking here at the FanDuel lines, 6.5 here as well, 41.5 as well, and you're getting plus 230 actually on the Eagles over there on the money line. If you wanted to take them, if you think that they can handle this thing outright here. So some 6.5s, 41.5s pretty much across the board for how we're looking at this. Let's talk a little bit about where this money is going here. 52% of the bets are on the Eagles to stay within kind of that, under a touchdown range there. But 57% of the money is actually on the Bears in this thing. So more tickets on the Eagles, more money on the Bears. They're split 50-50 down the center as far as bet total on the actual number here when it comes to the total, but 60% of the money is on the over in this one actually, which is kind of shocking here whenever you take a look at really how these two teams match up, and especially on the defensive side of the ball there for the Bears. One of the things to bring up from an injury note perspective, tight end Trey Burton for the Bears popped up on the injury report on Saturday evening. That's never a good sign. Of course, we'll monitor it all the way up to kickoff, but usually if you have to add someone, late on the injury report, especially just like the night before, typically not a good sign for him. Apparently he is questionable with a groin in this thing. Burton hadn't really been a huge part of this offense for the most part so far this season, but still something of note there. He is a athletic tight end that has had a couple of splash games so far this year. I'll scroll down a little bit further if you want to keep reading along here. Let's talk about the offensive side of the ball. On the Eagles side, 22.9 points per game. That is 18th in the NFL, 14th in total yards. They are averaging 365.3 yards per game. 17th in red zone touchdown percentage, so right about the middle of the league there, getting to the red zone, and they're converting about league average of those into touchdowns there. 20th in rush attempts, but 28th in rush yards, 30th in rush yards per attempt, They have not been good on the ground all year long. They've been trying to find a way to get things going. Of course, they were without Darren Sproles for the majority of the year. And of course, I know he's typically used more in the passing downs there, but Darren Sproles certainly is a guy that has helped kind of formulate who this backfield is as an identity. He's part of that rotation there. They just have not really found that all year long. And you can see it there, 28th in rush yards again, and then 30th in rush yards per attempt. So just not getting it done at all on the ground. 7th in pass attempts and 7th in pass yards. They, earlier in the season, they were just not playing all that well. They were trailing, so having to throw the ball a ton. 12th in pass yards per attempt. They're converting 40.9% of third downs. That is 12th in the NFL. So actually been doing, upper third when it comes to converting third downs in the NFL. If you're looking at their offensive line here, Pro Football Focus really likes it, actually. Third graded run blocking unit, despite the fact of having absolutely no success on the ground whatsoever. I think you can maybe then at that point at least take a look a little bit at the backs that are running the ball there. And then 10th graded pass blocking unit. So top 10 unit in both aspects there for this for this Philadelphia offense. I'll scroll a little bit more. As you can see here, 300 yards passing and the Eagles win is plus 500 over at FanDuel Sportsbook if you're interested in something like that. Bears offense, 26.3 points per game. That's actually 9th in the NFL, 21st in total yards. They're averaging 343.9. So that lets you know right there, scoring a bunch of points, but not averaging a lot of yards. They're getting short fields. Obviously, this defense is doing so much for them. 6th in red zone touchdown percentage. So they've actually been incredibly efficient when they've gotten to the red zone as far as getting that into the end zone and not settling for field goals there. 6th in rush attempts, 11th in total rush yards, but 27th in rush yards per attempt. So they run the ball a lot, but they're not very efficient when they do it, but it doesn't matter. They want to keep pounding the ball, so that's what they're doing. 24th in pass attempts. Obviously, they're running so much, they're not passing a ton. 21st in total pass yards, 14th in pass yards per attempt. So that being said, even though they don't pass a ton, they are at least getting some hunk yardage and some chunk plays and things like that whenever they do pass. They got some big play guys there. Obviously, Tariq Cohen out of the backfield. Taylor Gabriel's another guy, and even Allen Robinson, certainly. And we mentioned Trey Burton is one of the more athletic tight ends, at least in the league. Converting 41% of third downs. That's 11th in the NFL. So both of these offenses converting right at 41% when it comes to third downs. Offensive line here for Philadelphia, 11th best run blocking unit and 4th best pass blocking unit, according to Pro Football Focus. Pace, two very slow pace teams. Eagles, 27th in the league in pace, very deliberate offense here. Chicago, 30th in pace, another very deliberate offense here. So a very slow game, it looks like what we're looking at here, unless someone comes out completely changing their game plan that they've been using all year long. We'll scroll down a little bit further here, fellas. Keep on reading along if you would like. You can see over at DraftKings, again, that $35 no deposit, plus up to 500 in free bets. So pretty good stuff over there. Defensive side of the ball, Eagles defense, 21.8 points per game allowed. That is 12th in the NFL, so upper third for this defense. 15th overall DVOA. Right about middle of the pack there, but Pro Football Focus loves this defense. 4th overall, actually. So, again, they're watching every single play, and that's just kind of how they grade with their eyes there. They are allowing 366.2 yards per game. That's 23rd in the NFL, so giving up a decent amount of yardage here, bottom third there. Giving up 96.9 rush yards per game, though, that is 7th in the NFL. So, as you can see, they're giving up a ton of yards, but they're not giving up a lot of rushing yards. So what does that mean? That means this pass defense is what's very vulnerable for this Eagles team here. 21st in rush yards per attempt. That's 4.7 yards per carry. Now, you wonder why teams don't run more against this team. Obviously, they're giving up 4.7 yards per carry, and it's just a path of least resistance, right? The path of least resistance against this Eagles team is to attack them through the air, but does not mean they can't at least be had on the ground. Teams just choose not really to run against this team a lot. That being said, I think this Bears team might actually, look, they do have Tariq Cohen. They do have Jordan Howard there. I think that maybe they will at least try to establish the run for sure. They actually have the number 1 rated pass rush in the league, according to Pro Football Focus. However, the pass coverage grade, just like we were talking about, path of least resistance here, 21st graded pass coverage unit, 30th in pass yards allowed per game. They're giving up 269.2 yards per game. That is a ton of pass yards here. Only 2 teams worse in the entire league. 12th in pass yards per attempt allowed, and they are allowing their opponents to convert 35.3% of third downs. That's actually pretty good. As far as individual matchups, they are 24th against quarterbacks and 30th against wide receivers. So we'll see if this Bears wide receiver core can get something going against this Eagles team, where that is obviously their Achilles heel there. There's obviously a weakness, and that is the secondary here for the Eagles. Scroll a little bit more. You continue reading along on Nate's article here. Bears defense, everything you thought and more. Yes, allowing 17.7 points per game. That is best in the NFL. First overall DVOA. First ranked by Pro Football Focus. They're allowing 299.7 yards per game. That is third best in the league. So not even giving up 300 yards total per game. Giving up just 80 rushing yards per game. That is best in the NFL. Just 3.8 yards per carry. That's fourth best in the NFL. There's a pattern here developing, guys, when it comes to this Bears defense. 10th graded pass rush, number 1 graded pass coverage unit so far by Pro Football Focus through the entire regular season. 7th in pass yards per attempt allowed. They're giving up just 219.7 yards per game through the air. Under 220 passing yards from this unit. First in pass yards per attempt allowed, not giving up very many yards when they do actually complete a pass. Opponents average only converting 34.2% of third downs. That is fourth best in the league. And they're averaging 2.2 takeaways per game. You guessed it. That is best in the league. This defense, we're going to look back on this thing and we're going to say, man, this could have actually been an all-timer when we were watching this defense. I think that we're going to, 5 years from now, look back and say, man, that 2018 Bears defense, that's a hell of a defense, man. There's no doubt about that. So let's roll down here and start talking about some scenarios and how things might actually play out here. So let's make a case for the over here, and there's not a ton that I could really come up with here, but, let's at least try and make a case for the over here in case that it was a way that you were leaning. Like the other 2 games we previously talked about on Wild Card Weekend this weekend, it's just this is a micro total, right? 41.5 by today's NFL standards. That is just an incredibly low total. We're talking about 2 teams that just need to score 21 points apiece, and you have now hit the over in the game. So if you want to just take it from a very, very basic level, it's just the fact that this total is so damn low. And you can, and by today's NFL standards, that's just, these totals have been just flying over a 41.5 point number, Maybe the case for the over here is that the Eagles have looked at this on tape, and yeah, we understand that the Bears are really good in pass coverage, but we know that they're impossible to run against here. And if you're the Eagles, you don't run the ball very well to begin with in the first place. So you decide, you know what? We're basically going to turn into a Big 12 college team here. We are going to totally abandon the run, and we're just going to come out of the gates just passing. Well, what that does is that it at least extends the game. So you have that. The clock's not running because incompletion stops the clock. Of course, maybe you complete some of these things. Maybe you get a splash play to Nelson Aguilar or something like that who gets behind the defense, and you get maybe a quick touchdown or something like that can help get this thing to an over. The other thing that could happen here is when you're passing a ton, you're also opening the door for more turnovers. We just talked about that this Bears defense gets more takeaways per game than any defense in the NFL. So if that's the case, if you're throwing a ton, if the Eagles decide to abandon the run completely, well, you're opening the door for more turnovers here. Sacks, strip sacks, interceptions, pick sixes, all the different things like that, short fields for this offense to score quickly. So that's a case, that could be had for the over kind of in this game. Case for the under here, I'll scroll a little bit further. As you can see, Tariq Cohen first touchdown of the game. It's actually plus 800 over there at BetStars. Case for the under here. I mean, look, the Bears went 9-1 over their final 10 games of the season. During that stretch, they gave up more than 22 points one time. Over that 10-game stretch, they actually gave up 10 or fewer points 5 times. So in half of the games, they gave up 10 or fewer points over the final 10 games of the year. The defense was good all year long, but it really, really got good over the final 10 games of the season. So, I mean, again, all-timer here kind of, I believe, is what we're looking at with this defense. And look, every single aspect, right? I mean, look, we saw pass rush, pass coverage, against the run, against the pass. Like every single thing that you would want in a defense, you're getting in this Bears defense here. And so if the Eagles can't do their part in getting this game to the over, well, then that helps us get to the under here. So let's continue to talk about how this might actually continue to be the under, and that would be that the Eagles, let's go back to that scenario we were talking about in the over, was that the Eagles just completely abandon the run like we talked about. Well, that also makes your offense completely one-dimensional, and you have a defense like the Bears defense, and if they know what's coming, bad things could certainly happen. So if that were the case, then the Eagles, again, are not contributing their part. I don't think that kind of in the realm of possibilities for us here is that the Bears are going to be able to cover and get this thing over on their own. I don't think the Bears are going to score 42 points in this game. So you're going to have some help from the Eagles here. And if, let's just say they become completely one-dimensional in this thing. And if that's the case, well, a defense as good as the Bears, that sometimes is not a very good scenario for you here. And then listen, the last thing here for leaning towards the under as well. One, we don't have two very explosive offenses as it is in the first place. And two, you have two offenses that play so incredibly slow. You have an offense in the Eagles that plays at the 27th pace in the league. You have an offense in the Bears that plays at the 30th pace in the league. The Bears are not going to be afraid, if they're able to get up in this game, to sit there and ride Jordan Howard. What we did see down the stretch with this team as well was when they got up, they were giving Jordan Howard those 20 plus carries in a game. And he's going to, kind of be the three yards in a cloud of dust guy, but it burns the clock, keeps it tick, 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 and keeps this game at an under here. If we're looking at player props for this game, I think one of the things that we would want to look at here is we're going to play out the narrative in our head and figure out how we think this thing's going to play out. And we kind of just alluded to something right there with an under. If you think that the Bears are going to completely just control this game and the Eagles are not going to be able to get anything done whatsoever on the offensive end, well, then I think you need to take a serious look at Jordan Howard carries, Jordan Howard yards, as far as overs on those things, unders on Mitchell Trubisky passing attempts, Mitchell Trubisky passing yards, things like that, receptions basically for all the receivers. Because if the Bears just dominate this thing, they're going to run the ball and they play so slow. There's not going to be a ton of pass attempts and catches and yards and things like that to go around in the pass game. And of course, on the run side of things, you'd want to start looking at the overs and whatever. Also, one of the things I think you can look at here is if you do think this Bears team gets out to a big lead, if you do think that they're going to dominate this game, maybe look at some overs, at least on pass attempts from Nick Foles, because they're going to have to just be throwing every single down to try and play catch up here. Maybe over on receptions for some of these secondary receivers and stuff. I think the Bears are going to have a pretty good time containing Zach Ertz. They actually are one of the few teams. Zach Ertz wins, 9.9 out of every 10 battles, but the personnel for this Bears defense, it matches up to where they are able to kind of match up with a guy as athletic at the tight end position as Zach Ertz is. And so, maybe it's the secondary receivers is where Nick Foles kind of has to go and things like that. So again, just something with these player props, just tell a story in your head and then bet along with that story, kind of play correlated props into how you are figuring that this game is going to play out. As far as how I'm going to be betting this thing, I think that the Bears win this game. I think the Bears probably control this game pretty handily. I don't hate the 6.5 number, but I actually played this correlated into a couple of teasers that are riding from Saturday. Fortunately, both of the teasers got there. I needed a miracle in that Seattle Seahawks game for that all those teasers to stay alive, but they did. Feeling pretty good about that. I think you can tease this down to basically a pick 'em. The 6.5 comes down to just a half a point. All they have to do is win the game, and I do believe that this Bears team wins the game. I think the Eagles will be scrappy, and look, their defense is not a pushover completely, and their Achilles heel is actually their pass defense. And this Bears offense is certainly not known as being an offense that's going to light things up through the air either, So I don't think this is going to be just a cakewalk here or anything. And if you want to play a single game here, if you tease this thing with the Bears and then the under, so you're taking the Bears down to a pick 'em and then teasing this thing up to, 47.5. Of course, you would love to see this thing get to 42, and then you could tease it all the way up to 48 there. But that's kind of how I'm looking to play this thing here. If I had to play this thing straight up, I think I would lean towards the 6.5 on the Bears, but I certainly don't love that number and certainly don't love that hook being attached either. So just kind of watch this game, see if any sixes pop up, see if anything goes nuts, maybe some crazy East Coast bias comes in again, because as we look at these sportsbook now being located in New Jersey and things like that, of course, Philadelphia Eagles kind of being a home team over there. So maybe we see some crazy big bets come in last minute, and maybe this line just gets crazy and gets under 6 somehow, which I think would be, absurd. But it's certainly something that could happen depending on how much money comes in on this thing. So let's look to tease this Bears team down to a pick 'em. Hopefully, if you're watching this before even the early kickoff, you can tie it to maybe a Chargers a teaser there, getting that thing up to 8.5 or 9. And if you want to play single game, really think that this leans more towards an under. This game to me, I don't see a ton of success on the offensive side for the Eagles here. And I don't think that this Bears offense is so prolific that they're going to go out and just carry this thing to the over on their own. So, getting this thing up to 47.5, 48, taking the under and taking the Bears with it as well. Guys, really appreciate you watching this video. Please hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Please hit the thumbs up on this thing, and please let us know in the comments how you're playing this game. We are very, very interested to hear how you guys are thinking, how you guys are leaning, and even if you're taking a pass, just say like, yeah, I'm not going to play this game. I think it's a pass for me. I think this is okay as well to go ahead and take a pass on some of these things. We don't have to bet every single game, but it's fun, right? Allen games, we're going to be betting them anyway. Guys, your support for getting us over 1,000 subscribers, getting us to 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 is really, really important. Thank you so much. It lets us know, validates what we're doing here. We're not sitting here jumping up and down trying to sell you guys locks of the century. We're not trying to tell you that this is the play of the year or anything like that. That's not what we're going to do here. I want to give you as much, everybody on this channel, just as much good information as humanly possible. And hopefully that helps shape your bet and shapes what you were thinking you were going to do anyway. Or maybe you hear something somewhere along the way that helps confirm, okay, yeah, that's how I want to go about this. But just want to give you, as good of game breakdowns as humanly possible. So help you make an educated decision on where you want to put your money. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you again as we roll into the national championship in college football. We'll have several videos for that as well.